I mean, yeah, I'm lucky to work with just like some of the most incredible women and humans that I've ever met, and I think probably ever will meet.
I think there's a common perception that homelessness looks like a man rough sleeping in a sleeping bag on a street corner, and that's an image which is really perpetuated by the media as well. And that means that women's homelessness tends to be viewed as kind of, abnormal, which also means that women then experience a lot of stigma and judgment attached to finding themselves in a position of homelessness. And also, really importantly, it means that perception of homelessness being a single adult male means that women's homelessness is and always has been, overlooked in terms of policy, in terms of provision, and that's both at a local and a national level. And actually what we know and what research has proved, and what the experiences of the women that we work with has told us time and time again, is that the biggest cause of women's homelessness, without a doubt, is domestic abuse and other forms of gender-based violence.
Women are always seen as victims when they ask for support, as opposed to being seen as humans who are experiencing difficulties, who are rightly asking for the support that they deserve and the support that anyone would need. And because women who are homeless are seen as victims of homelessness, it's very difficult for them to be involved in their own advocacy, because their own advocacy is always quite often overlooked.
Really, services need to be either redesigned or designed from the outset in a way that is truly gender informed. And that really means understanding how and why women experience multiple disadvantage and homelessness differently to men, and responding to that in policy and in practice. We need to see more collaboration and better collaboration between the women's sector and the homelessness sector, for example, so that we can really make sure that women experiencing multiple disadvantage and homelessness don't keep falling through those gaps between services.
I think more women-only spaces is essential. Before working in a women's-only space, I hadn't really appreciated how powerful and important that can be. But so many of the women that come here tell us how transformative it is for them to be in a space where they're not worrying about bumping into a perpetrator, they're not worrying about being sexualized, they're not worrying about all the gendered forms of violence they're experiencing. And finally, I think it's really important that for services that aren't gender informed or gender specific, where there isn't gender specific provision, that they recognize that the majority of women coming through their doors are going to have experienced some form of violence, and often multiple overlapping forms, and making sure they take time to do those assessments and understand that the process of disclosure is slow and is gradual.
Women's spaces can often help in being the first step in getting services to take women's advocacy seriously, as it is in those groups that women can come together, see that the issues that they are facing are collective and structural, and then use the peer support to push for change.
Another really important thing, is just the importance of having fun. A lot of the women that come to our service have experienced abuse for decades, so we try as much as possible to just structure in fun activities, and just I think such an essential part of recovery is having fun, is enjoying yourself, and is recognizing that you can feel good and that the world can be good to you. Something that constantly amazes me and blows me away is the women I'm working with in our project, their ability to be so endlessly kind and loving towards each other. Many of the women that come to us have experienced decades, lifetimes of abuse and neglect, and despite that, or because of that, they are able to be so trusting and loving to people around them, and it's an incredible quality that brightens my life and brightens this world.